The brand new Assassin's Creed Shadows update added a lot of secret changes, so things that Ubisoft did not tell us about in the patch notes. There are in particular a ton of nerfs, but also things that stopped working after the update. So a lot to go over. Let's start with a big nerf for one of Nawe's best masteries, the No Mercy. One of the special moves she can of course do with a katana is called a dodge attack. So out of a dodge you do a nice counter attack to hit the enemy. You could upgrade it once to get some adrenaline back and increase the damage. And with the final upgrade unlocked at knowledge rank 4, you would first also make enemies vulnerable with this attack. So it was a really easy way to get enemies in the orange state. But now after the update they added a video to the skill and we already see it. You now have to dodge out of the way of an enemy attack, and if you then do a counter, only then will you make them vulnerable. But this obviously makes it way worse, as you really have to wait for the right time to do the dodge attack before you can trigger the effect, and mostly wait for the enemy to finish their combo, otherwise you will be interrupted. But it's in particular bad now because it's way easier to do a perfect deflect to make the enemies vulnerable that way and they stay close to them as well. Also, this new version of the No Mercy makes no sense against red glowing attacks because perfectly dodging them already makes the enemy vulnerable, so then going in with the counter attack doesn't do anything different. So yes, a huge nerf that Ubisoft did not tell us about, thanks to Rave Coaster, Eric and Ghetto Birds for noting this in the comments. Many people reported that the allies are not working anymore after this update, and I think everyone has this issue, like you simply cannot summon them anymore since this patch. Now the passive effects like Ganojo's bombs still work, so when enemies are about to spot me they will still be stunned, but all the other allies are basically useless now. This does feel like something they want to quickly address, maybe with a hot fix, because they have to wait 3 weeks or so for the next update. To fix this issue would be kinda rough. I mean, we're kinda used to it with these Assassin's Creed post-launch, that when Ubisoft fixes stuff, they break other things. Again, there's more to go over, including some other big nerfs. Of course, if you like the video so far, leave a like, that would really help me out. And subscribe for way more Assassin's Creed Shadows content like this. But first, a really fun sponsor, Boot.dev, that teaches you to become a backend developer, a job with a very high yearly salary, and I in particular love how they teach you the many languages like Python for example. You namely work on a fictional game called Fantasy Quest and have to change things in the code that benefit the game. This is a very early exercise, but here they note that the player character is healing instead of taking damage, so you have to change a little thing to make the calculation right. And by solving these issues you get XP, earn achievements, there's even a leaderboard for everyone. It's really a fun way to learn coding, so I totally recommend it if this was ever interesting to you. You can try out the courses for free by checking out the special link that I put in the video description that would support the channel as well. And you can also use my code JorRaptor to get 25% off your entire first year if you choose the annual plan. So thanks to Boot.dev for sponsoring the video, and now let's get back into it. Okay, let's touch on more nerfs. First, with the Violet Knight Katana from Nawe, you could apply an affliction on a deflect, and this also worked on ranged enemies. So basically you could deal damage to enemies without even touching them. So now after the update you can still build up the affliction, but when in this case the blood triggers, it does 0 damage. So basically a waste of the affliction buildup if you parry an incoming projectile, which should be a cool defensive move. We'll keep following this, thanks to Andrew of the Alps for noting this, and we talked about this weapon by the way in the top 5 best weapons for Nawe video, link to that in the video description. They also nerfed the Daybreak's Fury Cannonbow that you can get from one of the main quest targets. It first had breaking armor spread shrapnel dealing 100% damage, but now it's 80%. The crazy part is though that this weapon never worked with the 100% damage, because as you might know, the update actually fixed the weapon, so now we see the explosion effect trigger when breaking an armor that staggers the nearby enemies. But yeah, as you can see, the 80% already doesn't do a lot of damage, so I would imagine that it also was not really great with the 100% either. Anyway, thanks to Ray Experience for noting this. One armor piece that got actually buffed, or maybe you could say fixed, is the Swift Shinobi hood. So it still says slow time when detected, but first this was meant quite literally. When you got into combat, the time would slow down, so you could prepare yourself, I guess. There was really no benefit to it. while in the previous games you could of course use this window to assassinate the enemy and avoid combat. Well, a secret change now is that after the update you actually do have time to still assassinate the enemy during this slow time effect, where first there was no such prompt. Now you still have a very short window to do so, so it's still not very good, but much better than before the update. First, with the heightened senses ability from Naue, you could do some very cool tricks, as you see in this video from Leo K. Link to his channel will be in the video description. So if you would throw a tool, it would actually stay in the air and slowly go to the target. You could do some really sick bullet time shit with this. Well, you already guessed it, now the tools are not slowed down by the effect anymore, so they immediately hit. It's not really a nerf, it's still really strong, it's just way less cool. The trick is, by the way, after fully upgrading the ability to assassinate a target right before the slow motion effect wears off, because then you reset the duration and can be in slow motion even longer. They also made some secret changes to the armor of the undead. For one, Yasuke now also has the black shade following him, similar to Naue, and it looks kinda cool. And they also changed how the perk works. So the perk says it creates a poison cloud on a parry, and first this was a very short one, instantly applying the poison effect to one enemy and staggering you as well. Well, now after the update, the poison cloud actually stays, kinda like Valhalla, and can then apply to multiple enemies. So in that regard it's stronger. The difference is that an enemy is not instantly poisoned anymore. So you build it up, and that can mean that sometimes they cannot get the full poison effect from the clouds anymore. I totally expect this one to appear at the exchange at some point. Thanks to Luke Smart for noting this in the comments. A big nerf I immediately noticed is for the Masakado's Vengeance, that I of course went in depth on in the How to Become Overpowered video. Also a link to that in the video description. With this you get 1% damage per unspent mastery point, and you can of course remove mastery points from the tree, so very easily get a lot of them to increase the damage. Well, now after the update they kept the damage increase to 200%. So I did some testing with this and it's still really powerful, luckily. Like my build that kills guardians with 2 melee hits is still on, and I can still very easily nuke the arena targets too. Not much of a difference actually, only my bow playstyle was slightly nerfed, but as you can see it's still insanely powerful. And maybe you already see it in this footage, they also changed how the blood seems to work, as now it seems to hit the health bar while my regular damage goes to the armor first. So first I would first nuke the armor and then the health. Now it happens at the same time. So maybe that is why the blood trigger on a deflect does not work anymore. Your theory is more than welcome. But yeah, overall I don't really mind the Masakado's Vengeance nerf that much. Using the trinket can still result in insane builds, like my Naue playstyle is still amazing too. And without a cap, this item would only get more and more OP the longer the game goes on. So having a cap I think makes sense. It means that I can also unlock some abilities again instead of removing everything for a high enough damage increase. But yeah, this update really has shown that Ubisoft is not afraid to nerf things, and I totally expect we will see more in the future. I just hope they make crappy items more powerful too, so we are kind of enticed to use those as well. But yeah, a new patch cannot come soon enough, as there's of course also this issue with selling items in bulk. For me the game did stutter, but it did work in the end. But I know many of you had crashes on every platform. So I'm kinda curious how Ubisoft tested this, because this feature was clearly not ready for deployment. Of course, when they announce a new patch or new content, I'll be the first to tell you here, so subscribe, leave a like, and check out that OP items video for an in-depth explanation on the builds I used by clicking on the screen. I will speak to you very soon. Goodbye.